Welcome to the Alaska Weather Show. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service on this Friday, July 16th, 2021. And boy, I hope you've had a chance to get out and enjoy some fine summer weather. Much of the state is enjoying dry and warmer conditions, and many areas will hold on to this, especially the southwest interior, south central, and central east interiors as we go through Saturday and Sunday. And if you like additional weather information, as always, you can go to weather.gov/Alaska. Well, let's take a look at what we are going to talk about here this evening. Warm and mainly dry conditions, especially in through the river valleys of the southwest interior, the Kuskokwim River, the Mat-Su Valley on up into the Tanana, as well as the Yukon Valley. We'll see temperatures 70s and even some 80s, and generally dry weather, though, with the heating. We could see a few thunderstorms pop up along with some scattered showers south central and east central interior here going through the weekend. There is a moderate risk for significant fire in the east central areas. The main concern would be lightning strikes, but otherwise winds aren't going to be especially strong or anything like that. And then it looks like temperatures are going to cool down a little bit, especially across far north, the North Slope, Arctic coast, back toward west central areas. It's going to be gradual. There is a cold front that will be knocking on the door there. You'll see it showing up when I put up the Sunday afternoon weather map. It'll be approaching the Arctic and northwest coast there. But again, fire danger is highest up along and north of the Yukon River there, Yukon Flats westward. There are a few areas of extreme, just because things have dried out. They haven't had as much precipitation up that way as further south. Also, we have areas of high fire danger along and north of the Alaska Range, and a couple of pockets upper Copper River Basin and the Mat-Su Valley. So keep that in mind if you're going to be out recreating or using any sort of fire. And as far as what we got going on here today, it's been fairly quiet across the state. You can see in the satellite image there is that circulation there toward the southwest of Haida Gwaii, there in the southeast, keeping some showers going there, though I do think you'll see a few breaks, at least in the northern parts of the southeast panhandle here, not just today, but into Saturday, before generally cloudier conditions are going to hold there in the south central and southern portions of the inner waterways of the southeast. Across south central areas, we've enjoyed partly sunny skies, warm temperatures, and with the heating, there could be an isolated shower, thunderstorm try to pop up. Not as likely this evening, more likely tomorrow and again on Sunday, especially around the Talkeetna Mountains and then some areas further north and a little northeast of there. And then out to the west, there is a system way in far eastern Russia, a trough working its way now through the Bering Strait that will try to spread some lower cloudiness and a little bit of light rain or fog along coastal areas of the far west. And then back toward the Aleutian chain, there is another low pressure system lifting up across the west central Aleutian area, and that having with it some light rain and areas of fog. But otherwise, much of the interior, and especially those of you, as I was saying well over a week ago, in the southwest interior, finally having a chance at some better weather, like Dillingham, towards Iliamna, and also out toward Bethel. And so again, just get out and enjoy the great summer weather. And you can see otherwise we're going to see a similar pattern here for the day tomorrow, and still holding on into Sunday. Many of the interior river valleys will have temperatures in the 70s with some 80s, normally warm spots. So here's the weather map right now. We have that low situated to the southwest of Haida Gwaii, and still bringing some showers and lower cloudiness there to a good chunk of the southeast panhandle. Back further west, in through south central areas, the east central interior, there's a weak trough, and along it there could be an isolated shower, rumble of thunder pop up there. I think a little better chance heading into the day Saturday and again on Sunday, but otherwise a lot of clearing across the central interior back through the southwest. And then there's that trough just to the west of St. Lawrence Island, going to bring a little more light rain and fog that way, and then the other low pressure way out there to the south and southwest of the western Aleutians. So going through the overnight, we'll see that low pressure just lag there, hanging southwest of the panhandle, and then across the interior, weak trough just kind of sits over eastern and south central areas, and then back through the west, we'll see some light rain and fog moving in through the Seward Peninsula and the northwest coast. And then as we head through Saturday, ridge of high pressure still in place. It extends from North Pacific across the tip of the Alaska Peninsula and arcs back over to the northeast along the Yukon River Valley, and that's what's providing some sunshine and the warm temperatures across much of the interior. But again, some moisture in the low levels of the atmosphere. You get that kind of daytime heating in the 70s, lower 80s. That's going to pop a few showers and thunderstorms due to that instability, so that'll be the case tomorrow. Matsu Valley, Talkeetna Mountains on up toward the east central areas along and south of the Yukon River. And then back through the northwest, that trough just kind of weakening as it works its way eastward, bringing with it some light rain showers into portions of the north slope and northwest. And that ridge still in place on Sunday, but it will begin to break down early next week. So as I said, get out, and if you're enjoying this sunshine and warm weather, enjoy yourself this weekend, because pattern is going to begin to break down and not be quite as nice here coming up over the next several days, and then certainly by next weekend. You can see that low out over the Bering Sea with a weakening what was an occluded front, now just a trough approaching the west coast and the tip of the Alaska Peninsula, with it some fog and areas of light rain. So temperatures, lows Saturday morning will be down into the lower 50s across much of the southeast from Ketchikan on up toward Haines. Where there is some clearing, 43 at Yakutat, but you could be flirting with 70 here for Saturday afternoon. And further west, readings will be warm, Talkeetna, Anchorage, that mid-upper 50s, and everybody else generally lower 50s. And look at these highs Saturday afternoon. Southeast inner waterways, 60s, but could hit 70 at Haines as well as Yakutat. And then further west, 70s with some 80s, 80 at Glen Allen, 82 at Talkeetna. And then for Sunday morning, lower 50s across the southeast, generally mid to maybe upper 50s across the south central interior. Not quite as warm Sunday, but hey, we'll take it. 60s across the southeast, 70s to still near 80 there at Talkeetna. Along the coast, 60s there at the Kenai down toward Kodiak. And then along the Arctic coast, Saturday morning, lows generally near or a bit above 40. Lower to mid-50s in the Yukon Tanana valleys, and 40s across the Seward Peninsula. Look at the highs Saturday afternoon, lower 80s around Fairbanks, Eagle Village, Fort Yukon. Generally in the 50s along the northwest areas and Seward Peninsula. And then low Sunday morning, generally around or lower mid-40s along the Arctic coast and west coast. Still lower to a few middle 50s showing up there in east central areas in the lower river valleys. And then high temperatures on Sunday will still be well into the 70s. A few spots could probably still squeak out an 80-degree reading. And then along the Arctic coast readings there, that'll be some of the warmest temperatures you see in a while, because a cold front is going to be knocking on your door there come late Sunday night and Monday, and it's going to bring in some cooler temperatures along the north slope back through the northwest coast here as we head through early next week. Saturday morning lows for the southwest will generally be upper 40s, around 50 as you go out through the Aleutian chain, upper 40s. And then high temperatures Saturday afternoon. It'll be around in the 70s, especially up through the Kuskokwim River basin, and areas along the coast cooler, mainly 50s to near 60. And Sunday morning, we're looking at lows across the interior between 50, lower 50s overall, and then extending out through the Aleutian chain, the Alaska Peninsula, mid-40s to near 50 degrees. High temperatures Sunday afternoon will be back up well into the 70s, maybe even an isolated 80-degree reading there up through the Kuskokwim River basin from places like McGrath and even down toward Bethel and Antioch. It'll be warm. It'll be in the 70s, and readings out along the Aleutians will generally be lower 50s. So here is the temperature outlook pushing ahead now till July 22nd through the 26th. And notice, not as robust as what I had been showing you last week. We're going to see things cool a bit across the state, and still above normal temperatures over east, central, and northeast areas, but the west and southwest there are going to start to cool down a bit. And as far as precipitation goes, we are looking for precipitation across much of the state to average near normal, though it could be a little above normal across the southeast panhandle and from the tip of the Alaska Peninsula out into parts of the Aleutians, but pretty typical for this time of year. So as I mentioned, I haven't had a chance to get out fishing yet. I'd love to do that. I have to put that off till I have a little time off coming up next month. Hope you can get out and enjoy the fine summertime weather in Alaska.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Moving right along to aviation weather, if you are planning a flight this weekend, Saturday into Sunday, you can expect IFR conditions along portions of the west coast, extending inland along the Brooks Range and especially southern portions of the Seward Peninsula. Also, we see areas of IFR out over the northern Gulf, back through parts of the southwest Panhandle and the Aleutians. For Saturday afternoon, there will be the potential for isolated thunderstorms to develop with the daytime heating, as we have some rather warm temperatures across south central areas up to about the southern end of the Yukon Flats and crossing the Alaska Range, so keep that in mind with the afternoon and evening heating there. And then Sunday morning, we'll see IFR conditions continue over the northern Gulf and extending along the south slopes of the Brooks Range up there in the northern portions of the state, as well as back through the southern half of the Seward Peninsula, down along the west coast and out into the Bering. And then Sunday afternoon, once again, there could be some isolated thunderstorms develop, especially along portions of the Alaska Highway there toward the Alcan border and back through the Talkeetna Mountains and along the southern arm there of the Alaska Range. And here's past conditions anticipated. Anaktuvuk starting out MVFR, especially west of Anaktuvuk in the morning, becoming VFR. Atikin should generally hold on to VFR conditions, and as we drop further south and west, we will see the potential for some isolated storms popping up along the east entrances there of Lake Clark and Merrill Saturday afternoon and evening. And as we start to round the Alaska Range, the east entrance of Rainy Pass could also see some thunderstorms develop in the vicinity thereof in the afternoon and evening. And then as we cross through Windy Pass, the potential either side or over that an isolated storm could develop on Saturday. Same thing at Isabel. Potential for an isolated thunderstorm, either north or south entrance or crossing through. Mentasta, generally VFR conditions will hold with the possibility of some storms as you fly north and west of the north entrance there. And then for Tanita on Saturday, there could be an isolated storm either entrance and vicinity as we go through the day Saturday. And right now for Portage, MVFR conditions there, especially out over Prince William Sound, but on the west entrance and flying westward, you can encounter an isolated storm Saturday afternoon or evening. And generally, VFR conditions will hold throughout the day. Pretty good weather in portions of the southeast for Saturday. And then as we look at the freezing levels, you'll notice that warmer ridge of high pressure, that warmer dome of air associated with the mid-level ridge of high pressure with 12,000 foot plus freezing levels into central portions of the state down along the Alaska Peninsula and Kodiak Island. And overall, this is a warmer regime as we would expect with this pattern for being in the summertime. And as far as icing, there is the potential above 11,000 feet to a flight level of maybe 20,000 feet in the southeast. And then generally for south central and northwest areas above 12,000 feet there in the northwest, and perhaps a few isolated storms there along and south of the Alaska Range, and then way back out there in the central western Aleutians above 14,000 feet to maybe a flight level of 21,000 feet. Quick check of upper level winds. We have this ridge trough pattern with low pressures to the south there of the southeast Panhandle. High pressure ridge extending from northwest Canada down along the Alaska Peninsula into the North Pacific, and then another low back out there toward the western and central Aleutians. As we drop down to 9,000 feet, still low pressure circulation there off of the southeast, and then that high sitting out there near the Alaska Peninsula and southwest coast, with that low extending with winds upwards to 50 knots or so from the southwest over the central Aleutians. And then again, we see similarly that reflection down to 3,000 feet, trough there out toward the western Aleutians, winds, some turbulence possible there, 45 to 50 knots there through the central and moving into the eastern Aleutians. Also notice there up along the west-northwest coast, westerly winds upwards to 40 knots will create some turbulence with lighter winds across the southern interior as a result of that high pressure ridge. And here you have it. You can see the potential for turbulence around the Seward Peninsula, northwest coast, surface to 3,000 feet, including St. Lawrence Island. As you go a little further inland, surface to 5,000 feet, and a potential for some isolated storms from especially the Yukon Flats down across the central Alaska Range into the Talkeetna Mountains, and at least where the sea breeze moves inland from Cook Inlet could touch off a few storms, and the surface to 3,000 feet across the central and eastern Aleutians.
Just as the sun is part of weather on Earth, it also affects weather in space. The sun creates solar wind by steadily releasing a flow of plasma particles in all directions around it. Sometimes the sun gives off a flash of light and X-rays. This is known as a solar flare. When massive bursts of particles explode into space, we call it a coronal mass ejection, or CME. When a CME is directed toward Earth, it hits the magnetosphere, the magnetic field around our planet that protects us. If the storm is large, we may even get to enjoy a light display in the sky called the auroras. In space, satellites may be damaged, and astronauts should take cover. On Earth, people do not feel any physical effects. We may lose electricity in some areas, polar flights may be rerouted, and satellite services may be disrupted. While these situations aren't ideal, they are rare and fixable. This is why we will continue to study the sun and its interactions with Earth and the solar system.
Longing for more space, open skies, and exotic travel? Then look up, about 30 to 600 miles straight up at the ionosphere, Earth's interface to space. Nestled far above the clouds but below outer space, this little understood destination invites you to explore its many features. Experience both the weather from Earth and the weather from space. Marvel at the ballet of radio waves and navigation signals, like GPS, leaping through this particle paradise. Sit back, relax, and take in the aurora, some satellites, and the International Space Station as they sail by. And you'll want your camera handy for one of the region's signature features, bright and colorful air glow. This daily show is made possible by the ionosphere's own swirling charged particles, because that's what the ionosphere is. It's all charged particles. During the day, enjoy the sea of particles, freshly energized by the sun. As the sun sets, this particle party relaxes and the air glow thins. Our quieter nightlife lets you gaze into clearer skies. The ionosphere is in constant motion, an amazing effect of space weather. Don't miss when solar storms rain down. The storm separates the particles even more, making this colorful region delightfully more dense in some places and stunningly sparse in others. And don't forget about storms from Earth below. Your weather from back home also stirs up this one-of-a-kind destination. Experience the unique beauty of every season, as changes in Earth's atmosphere, daily and annually, can create pressure waves, changing the ionosphere's shape and density. Venture to the equator, where our particles are packed in lush and thick. Cruise along a magnetic field line and see how the ionosphere's charged material also interacts with Earth's own magnetic field. Don't miss the superhighway of particles zipping out to space and back down to the planet. This unpredictable parade of charged particles can help you unplug and unwind. This is because the crowd of particles can garble the radio and satellite communications from home. The ionosphere welcomes you to discover more about this little-known region. After all, once you've explored this interface to space, who knows how much farther you'll be able to go.
When a star, bigger and more massive than the Sun, runs out of fuel at the end of its life, its core collapses while the outer layers are blown off in a supernova explosion. What's left behind depends on the star's original mass. A star roughly 10 to 20 times our Sun leaves behind a neutron star. A more massive star becomes a black hole. Unlike black holes, neutron stars are directly observable, usually as pulsars, the lighthouses of the cosmos. Discovered 50 years ago, they are the densest observable objects in the universe. Neutron stars compress up to twice the sun's mass into a city-sized sphere. Matter is packed so tightly that a teaspoon of neutron star interior would weigh more than 1 billion tons on Earth. Still, the nature of the ultra-dense matter in the cores of neutron stars is unknown. Because neutron stars pack so much mass into such a tiny volume, they produce gravity strong enough to bend the light they emit, distorting their appearance in a way that enables the mass and size of the star to be measured. Scientists cannot reproduce the extreme conditions in and around neutron stars on Earth. They must look into the galaxy to answer decades-old questions about extreme matter and gravity. NASA's Neutron Star Interior Composition Explorer mission, or NISA, will make X-ray observations of neutron stars from its perch on the International Space Station. It will give astronomers more insight into these mysterious objects, helping determine what is under their surface. A multi-purpose mission, NISA includes a technology demonstration called Sextant. It will analyze NISA's observations to validate the use of rapidly rotating neutron stars as navigation beacons for travel in deep space throughout the solar system and beyond.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Well, we start out the marine weather segment with the sea ice edge, and you can see that much of the at least lower half, the Chukchi Sea, is open, and we expect some openings in the ice, especially between Wainwright and AKwx as we head through this weekend into maybe early Monday. Winds are going to be picking up from the south and southwest at about 25 to 30 knots, so that could help open some of the navigable waters, the navigational waters there, whereas still ice will tend to be holding along the Arctic coast. But there will also be some breakup there as well with those sorts of winds. But a cold front will be coming in from the northwest late Sunday night and during the day on Wednesday, so that will likely close that window of opportunity at some point later Monday, and especially as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday. So here's the way things are shaping up for the southeast panhandle, inner waterways, winds southeast 10 knots, waves 2-3 feet, Ketchikan up through Petersburg. Lynn Canal there northwest of Juneau, north winds 15 knots, waves 3 feet, and along the Gulf Coast there, generally variable winds around 10 knots, waves 4-5 feet at best. And then on Sunday, we see winds southeasterly 10, upwards to 20 knots there in Lynn Canal, waves generally a couple of feet, though they could be a little higher, 3-4 feet there in Lynn Canal. And along the Gulf Coast, variable winds along the length there around 10 knots and waves 3 or 4 feet. For the south central areas, we are looking at variable winds on the north end, including Prince William Sound, waves only a couple feet, as well as there in the northern half of Cook Inlet. But on the south end of Cook Inlet, we're looking at winds of westerly 20 to 25 knots extending out there northeast of Kodiak, with waves 4 to maybe as high as 6 or 7 feet there at the mouth of Cook Inlet. And then winds on Sunday turn more southeast to southerly there down around the mouth of Cook Inlet at 15 knots, and that'll help push waves maybe up to about 4 feet. Otherwise off the Kenai, just a few footers, and generally variable winds and 2 footers there in Prince William Sound. Across the Alaska Peninsula and Kodiak Island, winds will be west-northwest, generally in the 20-25 knot range. On the Pacific and Gulf side, waves 4 or 5 feet, and on the Bering side, 2 to 4 foot waves extending up there into Bristol Bay. And then for Sunday, look for winds to be west to southwest around 15 to 20 knots, waves generally around 4 feet on the North Pacific side, and 2 to maybe as high as 4 or 5 feet there as you get just north there of Cold Bay. And looking at the Aleutians, we do have 35 knot gales there between Atka and Adak, and that could kick up some waves of 8 to 9 feet in both the Bering and Pacific sides. Otherwise, winds are a bit less because we do have that area of low pressure that is going to be lifting northeastward through the western end of the Aleutian chain. And as that does so, behind a weakening occluded front, winds are going to shift southwest around 25 knots for Sunday. Waves generally in the 8 to 10 foot range on the North Pacific side, and 7 to 9 feet on the Bering side. As we head up along the west coast, winds will generally be south to southwest around 20 knots. Waves 5-6 feet, St. Paul, St. George on up to south of St. Matthew, and coming onshore 6-7 feet there through the Norton Sound and south of St. Lawrence Island. And then as that low sits further off to the west, winds will be south to southeasterly upwards to 25 knots there at St. Paul and St. George, with waves around 8 feet, and lighter further north there, southwesterly winds around 10 knots, 3-footers there into Norton Sound. Now along the northwest coast, winds are going to pick up from the south and southwest 25 to 30 knots on Sunday. And that's going to cause some of that ice to shift further north and east. So that could open up those navigable or navigational waters there between Wainwright and Utqiagvik as we head through the weekend and into at least early Monday before a cold front comes through and winds are going to shift around to the northeast. Otherwise, along the Arctic coast there Sunday, we are looking at winds of 15 to 20 knots from the southwest. So a quick check of the weather maps. We have a weak trough with some fog and light rain moving through the Bering Strait and northwest coast tonight. Low pressure remains situated there south of Haida Gwaii there, affecting the southeast panhandle with some areas of lower cloud cover and some light showers. And then that low pressure system out there through the western half of the Aleutians. The occluded front will gradually weaken Saturday into Sunday as it lifts further toward the northeast. Ridge of high pressure remains in place, especially from the North Pacific up through the southwest interior and east central areas, other than a few isolated storms possible this weekend across parts of south central and east central portions of the state. So that's our show for this Friday evening. Thank you for watching, and be sure and join me again as I'll be hosting through the weekend.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.